Right, so let's take a look at the auto filter. I've got this track loaded up that I've made recently, and we're just going to drop an auto filter firstly on the master track. So I'll just go over to audio effects, and it's the first one there, so I'll just drag that into the master track. Right, okay, so basically our auto filter, it works in the same way as a filter would on a set of DJ decks, for example. I'm sure most DJs know what the sweeping in and out in the filter does. The auto filter works in much the same way, only there's a few extra parameters that Ableton's auto filter has over a standard DJ controller. So let's just demonstrate how it works. We're going to start off with a low pass filter. You can either move the toggle left to right, or anti-clockwise and clockwise, or you can go inside the graphic display and also move it left to right. This controls the both of them. So let's just do a sweep in and out of the track and see what the auto filter does. Okay, that was the filter frequency. Now the resonance control just gives a kind of boost in volume where the auto filter is cutting off. It basically works in tandem alongside with the filter frequency, so you'll see when I move this, the filter frequency also moves as well. What happens when we raise this resonance bar, you'll notice that we start to get a squelchy kind of sound and the volume gets louder, so let me just demonstrate this now. It's a very cool sound, just don't try and overdo it. But yeah, so that's basically what the low pass filter does. It's basically just cutting out all the higher frequencies and sweeping through the lows. Next we're going to head down to the filter frequency options. What we've got here right now is the low pass, then next to this is the high pass. It basically just works in the same kind of way, where it's basically just having the opposite effect. Next along from that, we've got a bandpass filter. So a bandpass is basically just letting a band of frequencies through and cancelling out the rest. These are good for risers and effects if you were doing it across, let's say, some white noise. But let's just do it across the full track right now and show you how it works. And after that we've got a notch filter. This is basically notching out some frequencies and leaving in the rest. I'm not sure if it's exactly the opposite of the bandpass, but it basically works in the same way, so let's just give it a try. Cool. And the next one, sorry, the last one in this row is called a morph filter. Basically, this is just going to be morphing in between the rest of the filters we've already used. So when I click on this morph filter here, it's going to show this morph drive toggle. And basically, it's just going to be sweeping through from the low pass to the high pass to the band pass and the notch, and then back to the low pass again. So let's just give it a try. Okay, moving over to the right here, what we've got here is called the circuit types. Now, these are basically just Ableton's own idea of the old analog filters you used to find on hardware synthesizers. You've only got one option for the morph, notch and bandpass, which is the OSR, but if we move over to the low pass and the high pass, we've got 4 different options to choose from. I'll just choose OSR for demonstrating purposes right now. You'll notice when we click on one of these toggles that this extra drive control comes up. You can use this to add some analog drive to the filter. So let's just demonstrate it and the full track. Yeah, it definitely adds a bit of warmth and depth to the track. The only problem is it does raise the volume significantly higher, so be sure to check that on the master channel, maybe just to avoid some clipping and such. We could probably put this on just one group, let's say the drums, so let's just fire it over there into the group and we'll solo this, and let's just try it here. Yeah, it really does bring the drums out significantly more. I'm going to move the auto filter back to the master channel now, and let's just take a look at the right of the circuit type. So you'll notice here we've got a button here that says 12 and 24. These are basically just the steepness of the curve. So 24 being steeper than 12, meaning it will be cutting off more higher frequencies. So I'm just going to demonstrate it with the full track playing. Yeah, you'll notice when we've hit 12, higher frequencies are popping out more rather than the 24, which is making the track sound more darker. Right, let's take a look at how we can start modulating some sounds with the auto filter. Now, instead of using the full track for this, I've just soloed one of the pads that I've got in this track. It sounds like this. And it's just coming before the break. Now, if I wanted to create some movement in this pad, for example, I could easily just do it manually using the filter frequency. But thanks to the LFO on the right hand side, we don't need to do this manually. We can set it to modulate automatically. Now, the amount control defines how much modulation is going to be applied to the filter frequency, and the rate is the speed. So you've got two options for the rate. You can either put it in hertz, where it's basically a freehand, or you can sync it to the beat with the note head button. So let me just demonstrate it here. I've got it set to 1/16 on the note head, and I'm going to raise the amount and let you hear the effect. Let's just change the amount to 1/8. So let's see what that sounds like. And let's change it to hertz and do it freehand. So I'm going to raise the amount all the way up and just move the rate up and down, and you'll notice a difference. Right, okay guys, lastly we're going to take a look at how we can shape the modulation. Over to the right side of the amount section, we've got this thing called shape, which is currently set to a sine wave. A sine wave is very smooth transitions, meaning the volume of the modulation is going up and down and up again like a horizontal S shape. There's no hard curves, so it will flow in nicely and flow out nicely. Now, if I wanted to get a sharper shape or something like that, I would have to change it to something like a square wave. You'll notice a square wave even more when I start to take the rate down a bit. Next, we've got the triangle wave. It's a little sharper than the sine wave, but still gives off a smooth transition. And below that we've got two saws. A saw pointing up to the right at first. So that's going to have a sweeping up effect, and then we can do the opposite. which has a more of an attacky kind of feeling. And the last two are basically just randomization. The first one is a stereo randomization, meaning you'll be able to hear the effect on both speakers. It's very noticeable if you've got headphones in. And the last one is just a mono where you'll hear it directly from the middle. Okay, that's it for the auto filter. So as you can see, it's quite good for modulating as well as cutting out some frequencies. Let's move on to the next video.